Shan, who is hoping to attend, is not very well, so she's asked us to record it. I do record them anyway, but we'll record this one specifically for Shan. Get well soon, Shan. Everybody wishes you all the best. Okay, segmentation. I'll intend this, as last time, to be a bit of audience participation, right? I don't like doing lectures particularly. I prefer us to sort of workshop this stuff and have a bit of input from everybody. So, would anybody like to kick off by describing what they think segmentation actually is in the first instance, and then why it's valuable in the second instance? Perhaps that's two questions. First up, does anybody want to describe what they think segmentation is? Don't be shy. We're all friends. Anyone? Okay, let's try and warm up a little bit before we get you all in, right? Bit of audience participation. So I'll kick off. If you imagine your whole audience, right? And that audience could be your data in HubSpot, the database that you have. If you imagine the whole audience is an orange, and then imagine that you've peeled that orange, right, to get a close look at that orange. Segmentation refers to the segments that the orange is made up of. Okay, so segmentation is about dividing your audience into usually recognizable groups. Right. So when people talk about marketing segmentation, or they talk about segmenting the audience, it's about dividing the audience into a reasonably easy to recognize group. Anybody, you can put it in the chat if you'd rather than speak. But anybody got any idea as to what a typical segment might be? Either speak up, don't worry about, don't stand on ceremony, or pop it in the chat. What would a segment look like? An audience segment or a marketing segment look like? Hannah, I'm imagining that you're on the beach in Portugal. So I don't know if you can put down your cocktail for a minute and give us an idea. What do you think a segment might be? Is Louise in? Is she listening? Louise, you know what's a segment? Somebody give. Is anybody else out there?
Yes, we are here.
Go for it, Meryl. What's a segment? What would you say a segment is? You're the only one brave enough to come on.
I am not very sure, but it feels like for example, the life cycle stages and
Outstanding. What a brilliant example. Brilliant example. So a segment that you would come across in marketing, a typical one, is a life cycle stage. That's a great example. We'll have a look at that a little bit more closely. But segments don't have to be complicated. Segment, for instance, could be a geographical segment. It could be demographical, psychographical. We like those sorts of words in marketing. Hannah, you've put the cocktail down. Creating a list of customers to target based on demographic or other categories. Now, that's what I'm talking about. That's absolutely spot on. So you could have a segment of your audience, for instance, that were women, or that were men, or were left-handed people, or were ginger people, or were demographically ABC ones, for instance, or were psychographically had intent, buy-in intent, for instance. So it's literally, as Meryl's just said, and Hannah has expanded on, a section of your audience, right? So imagine you've got 100,000 people, 1,000 people even, 1,000 people in your HubSpot database. You could email 1,000 of them all in one go using HubSpot tools, and that would be quite a powerful marketing campaign, an email going out to 1,000. But what would make that much more effective? What would make that campaign much more effective? Meryl, I'm going to ask you to come back in if nobody else does. Daria, how about you? Daria, I can't say your name. I'm so sorry. You're in Turkey as well.
we are in the same company.
I guess that would be the case. I didn't think we were that popular in
and
Turkey.
and and we have lots of issues with HubSpot, so we need to
Ah,
listen to
excellent.
you.
So why, how do you make your email that goes out to 1,000 people? How do you make it more effective?
With data quality.
Yes, 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 but you're not. So the point I'm trying to get to here, right, is that those segments that we just talked about, your email is more effective if it's segmented. So data quality is absolutely probably the single most important thing that you need to be worried about. You won't have effective emails at all if your data quality is poor, but we will improve the response from your email if the audience is segmented, right? And what I mean by that is, imagine we only want to send that email to people who've shown some interest in our company previously, or some interest in our pricing, or some interest in our social media posts, right? When we cut this audience up into the ways that we can cut it up, we utilize it in order to understand what's the best type of communication or the best type of way of to understand that audience. That's why we segment it. It's really, really powerful. So if we had an audience made up of the obvious ones, let's say there were men and women, and they're in the UK, France, Spain, Turkey, and Ireland, right? So if I sent out an email in English language, there are going to be people in that audience who will understand that email, and maybe everybody would understand it, but there will be people who understand English quite easily. If I segmented that list by language, and then I sent an email in Spanish to the people who lived in France, no, an email in Spanish to the people who lived in Spain, an email in French to the people who lived in France, and so on and so on. That's an example of how email segmentation can make things so much more powerful. Does that make sense? So the more we know about the audience and the more we're able to put them into segments, into buckets or boxes almost, the more powerful our marketing activities will be, the more accurate and the more targeted our marketing activities will be. The more targeted our marketing activities are, the more effective our marketing activities are. It's really as simple as that. Okay. So what is a segment? What is an audience segment or a target segment? Is a demographic, as Hannah said, a demographic breakdown, but it can be anything, right? It can be an interaction that people have had with your website. We'll talk about this in a bit more. It could be people who've responded to some marketing that you've done. It could be social media audiences. It could be men. It could be women. It could be people who are left-handed or right-handed. It could be anything. Any way of differentiating a group of people is in effect a segment, is a data segment. And one of the reasons we love HubSpot is because it makes that piece of work very, very easy to do. Very easy. I say we'll come on to that in a minute. Why is it so important? Because the more specifically targeted our marketing activity is, the more effective the marketing activity is going to be. Simply put, if we know that somebody has intent to purchase something, if we know that somebody's in a certain point of the life cycle, if we know that somebody has a certain interest, as Hannah's mentioned, maybe they're interested in sport or they're interested in the news or something, it all gives us insight into the way that we can communicate with them and communicate with them more effectively. Okay, so let's get into a bit of HubSpot. Please raise your hand or shout out if you have a question as we go through this. The Q&A is on, but just pop it in the chat if you have a question. So I'm going to share screen, and I'm going to go with, we'll see ourselves on the infinity mirror for a second, and then we go into the HubSpot demo. So can somebody shout to me just to confirm that you can see this HubSpot screen, please?
Yes, we
Yes.
can see.
Great, fantastic. Okay, now you may not have realized this before, but HubSpot makes segmentation so easy that even puts it on the home page of the CRM system, because each of these is a segment. Each of these headings, each of these columns is in effect a segment. We talked earlier about life cycle stage. Okay, so if we wanted to in HubSpot, we can do this a number of different ways. If we wanted to see all of the people in one of the segments, we can do that. And we might want to see all the people in one of the segments so we can target them specifically. Maybe target for communications, maybe target for data hygiene, maybe target for workflows that we want to run, or anything else. But it's a way of breaking your list of thousands of people up into manageable chunks and to make those chunks much more effective. So let's have a look at life cycle stage. There's two really quick ways in HubSpot that we can segment. And the first is just to click on the column, and that will sort everybody into like a spreadsheet does, sort everybody into their segments. So I can see at a glance, in this case, only got 100 selected on this page. We can see how many people that fall into the lead lifecycle stage, and I can see how many people fall into the marketing qualified lifecycle stage, and I can see how many people fall into the other and into the subscriber stage. Really easy, right? Literally, let's just click on lead status, and we'll put all of the people and all of the different lead statuses together. So you see, as this is a demo account, there are lots of gaps, but you can see all these are unqualified leads. These are open deals and in progress. Okay, so that's the easiest way to segment. There's a couple of other ways HubSpot makes it really easy to segment, and another segment we can look at is contact owner. So we can actually check the list by contact owner. So if you're a salesperson in HubSpot or a marketer in HubSpot, and these are your contacts, and you want to contact just your own contacts are a segment, you can do it from there. Or we could look at when they were created, or we could look at their last activity date. We could look at the lead status as we just touched on, and then we've got the magic button, the advanced filters button. Okay, so this is where HubSpot starts getting a bit silly powerful. This is ridiculously powerful now. If I click on the advanced filters button, what I'm effectively seeing when I look to add a filter to this CRM view is I'm looking to add a segment. Okay, I'm looking to create a segment out of all the data in HubSpot. So I've got all of this wild data in my CRM. Feels like it's all a bit chaotic. It's not really very well organized. It's all maybe it's alphabetical, and obviously it's all in the CRM. But this is where HubSpot gets really, really powerful. I click on my filters and I look to add my filter, and I can find every person who matches the criteria for the segment that I want to build with a few clicks of a button. And the segments that we have available to us are all the filters that we have available to us. These are just the contact properties. We'll just look at this for a minute, okay? So I can select any of the contact properties that we are measuring when we put leads into our database or put contacts into our database. And I'm filtering the whole of the database by that requirement, by that segment requirement. So let's say, I don't know how much data is in this portal actually. Let's try the annual revenue. So I want to create a segment of contacts where the annual revenue is known. I just want to know. There we go. So we don't have any annual revenues known, which is typical because it's a live demonstration that would happen. Let's see if we want to see whether they've got associated companies. So I'm going to check is known. There you go. So in this case, what I'm going to do, I've got my 248 records here, and I'm going to sort them into records, contacts, where I know the associated company. Okay, so I'll go through that with you again. So I go to the advanced filters box. I go to add a filter. And in this case, I'm just going to select the associated company filter. And again, I'm just going to select is known. In other words, these are the companies that I know those contacts have an association with. I can apply that filter, and now I've got a new list. Now, if I wanted to, I could create this as a view in my CRM, So you can see I've got all contacts, my contacts, and assigned contacts. This could be my contacts with a known associated company. That would be the first and easiest way to segment that in HubSpot. Or I can make a list. So if you're not using lists, this is the most exciting part of this hug. If you're not using lists will set you free. Lists will supercharge your HubSpot. So to build a list of a segment, I go into contacts and I go to lists. And you'll see there may be some lists already built here, but we're going to build a new list, okay? And we're going to hit the create list button. And we're going to mail, in this case, we're going to build a contact list, a contact-based list. We could build a company-based list or a deal-based list. And as your subscriptions go up HubSpot ladders, then you have more options for lists anyway, but we're just going to go with a contact-based list. And I'm going to call this contacts with known associated companies. So that's the name of my list. It's actually pretty much the description of the list as well. So I'm going to put that in there. It's an active list, and that means as the list, as the CRM grows bigger, the list gets updated. Now I'm in the list builder, and now I can add my segment. I can create my segment. Okay, so just like I did on the view, I'm going to go with add filter, and I'm going to look for that filter that was associated companies. So I'm going to need to select the right object. Ooh, why can't I find that? So I'm going to go with the company name, and I'm going to go with is known. Now, if we save that list, we're able to go back into the lists, and once HubSpot has cooked that list, it'll be here somewhere. That's going to populate over a couple of seconds as HubSpot does all of its work. Okay. Now we can see some other lists. These themselves are segments. These are previously created segments that we've stored in HubSpot for use later on at other times. For instance, one of the most useful segmentations is a buyer persona. Does everybody know what a buyer persona is, or do I need to explain buyer persona? Would anybody like me to explain buyer persona? We're okay. Okay. So there's a buyer persona in this demo portal called Tony's Demo Persona, and it actually has 100 people in it, right? So if I were to click on Tony's Demo Persona, this is the segment of all the people who have a persona called Tony's Demo Persona. That persona could be anything. It's usually a sales or a marketing persona. It's a semi-fictional representation of what that target audience looks like. So all these people all match that criteria, and therefore all these people are a segment. And that segment is Tony's Demo Persona. Now, in HubSpot, there's quite a lot I can do with this list or with this segment. So one of the things I can do with it is I can send an email, a marketing email directly to that segment. Because it already lives as a list, if I were creating an email and I wanted to send that email, I can select the demo persona. I can select the list to send that to. So all I would do is click on the send to, and then choose the list that I want to send it to. As you might know, I can also add individuals to the marketing emails anyway. But in this case, this is the power of the segment. I'm going to send it to those 100 people in the segment. And I can repeat that over and over and over again. Where else could I use a segment? I can use a segment in the advertising section. There are no ad accounts connected to this, but if you've got your marketing hub set up properly, you'll have ad accounts in there. I can use it from a social media audience perspective. I can use lists and segments in my campaigns. From a sales perspective, I can use them for prospecting. I can use them when it comes to sending out sales pitches, outreach. For service customers, I can segment people into different groups, such as customers, such as advocates, and so on and so on. So I'll use those lists that we've built, those lists being those segments that we're talking about, in lots and lots and lots of places in HubSpot. Now, there's one other place that this segment becomes extremely useful, and that's in the HubSpot automation. So under automation, we have the ability to send sequences, which are a series of templated emails, which you might know about. But we also have the ability to create workflows. And when we look to create a workflow in HubSpot, you'll see that we have numerous options. So we can build on contacts, on companies, on basis of deals and tickets, quotes, conversations, feedback submissions, subscriptions, payments, goals, invoice, and even lead based. So all of these are kind of segments in their own right. All of these are ways of cutting that company up. Ways of cutting that data up. So in this case, we could get contact-based workflows, and that would call through those lists. We could look at everybody who was part of Tony's demo persona, for instance. Companies, we could look at companies who are all in a geographical area, or companies that are grouped by industry. Deal-based might be about sending closed-won deals to into a welcome series automation through for an email welcome series, or could be lapse deals that get chased up, and so on and so on and so on. Basically, this is another way of creating a big bucket, a big section, a segment of contacts in HubSpot that you can then do something about. All right, before I go on to the next bit, I just want to check everybody's still with us. Is that making sense? Can somebody say yay or nay? Have I got any? Yes, thank you. Thank you. Brilliant. There's a bit of life in the audience. Woohoo! Thanks, Hannah. God, you must be getting a bit tipsy now, Hannah. You're still on those cocktails at the side of that pool. That's a joke, hopefully. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing I wanna look at is some of the other things. Now, if you like, those segments that we talked about are sort of almost passive segments in that there's something that you add yourself. There's something that you add to a customer. You create a membership of, if you like, yourself. There's something that you place on them. Okay. But one of the brilliant things about HubSpot is you can put people into a segment based on what they do rather than what you want. So you can kind of call it behavioral segments or event-based segments, right? So when something happens or the customer does a thing, we can put them into a segment. And that allows us to really easily understand who they are, what they might be, what they might need, and what they might appreciate in terms of interaction with us going forward. If it's behavioral, it's because maybe they've looked at certain pages on the website. If it's event based, maybe it's because they filled out a form. So when the audience does a thing, an action, a behavior, fills something out, visits us, engages with a social media post or an advert, we can create a segment of all of the people who've done that thing. And then en masse or in automatic terms, using the automation, we can take further actions that would be specific and specifically related to the thing that they've done. So as a for instance, right, One of my favorite ones is we have a little workflow on our website that shows me when a contact has been on our pricing page 3 times or more. So as soon as somebody's been on our pricing page 3 times, I get a little notification, and the notification says to me, reach out to this person, see if they need anything, see if they need any help. Why would I be interested in talking to somebody who's been on our pricing page 3 times? Because the chances are they are interested in buying our services, right? I'm not had to do a thing. They've done all the work. They've come to the website, they've looked at the website and a specific page on the website 3 times, and that's given me uh, the ability to segment them and to provide an action on their behalf. Now, if I took all the people who have been to the website 3 times, I would have an audience of quite high intent. As for instance, only maybe 10 people on, and maybe 1,000 people on there. Maybe having a segment of people who've looked at our pricing page more than 3 times who haven't bought from us would be a useful segment. That sounds like quite a useful segment to me, right? So how do we do this stuff, this behavioral stuff, this events-based stuff? So let's jump back into HubSpot again. Watch out for the mirror. There you go. Now, exactly the same way as we built the other um, segments, I'm going to demonstrate it through the CRM or through the contact page. First of all, there are other ways, particularly workflows, that will create these segments for you. Okay, but just to keep the principle simple and hopefully keep the understanding high. So we go into the advanced filters again. So I've clicked on, I'll show you that again. I've clicked on advanced filters here. I've clicked on add filter here. HubSpot really usefully shows me the most used properties and contact information as the first up. As we scroll down, we start to see some other filters that are available to us, and they become really quite interesting. So for instance, here's some social media information. So if people have come to us through the integrated social media tools or the adverts that we've placed on social media and run through HubSpot, we'll have lots of interesting stuff like the broadcast clicks, the Facebook clicks, follow accounts, their LinkedIn bio, LinkedIn clicks, LinkedIn connections. There's a combination here of stuff that HubSpot adds uh, automatically, or stuff that you would need to add yourself, or you would need to automate to be added. For instance, let's say follow accounts. So let's say you had a contact list of social media influencers, and you've managed to capture how many followers each of those people have, and you're going to put them into 3 different segments: those with more than 100,000 followers, those with between 50 and 100,000 followers, and those with less than 50,000 followers. So like a micro influencer sort of thing. There's 3 segments there that I've been able to understand that regard our potential audience of influencers by follower count. Now, we then go into the web analytics history. So when our website is connected to HubSpot and people come into HubSpot and are created as a contact, we start to store information about them. Again, this is information driven by their behaviors on HubSpot and on our website. So you can see things like average page view, see things like the first page that they saw. We can see where they came from potentially. We can see the last page that they saw. We can see their first source or the last source of their conversion. We can have a look at how many page views they've done, or how many sessions they've visited, how many times they visited the website. We can see the time first seen, the time of the first session. There's all sorts of ways that their behaviors will create a segment that they can be added to. I'm sorry, it's the wrong way to describe that. All sorts of ways that their behaviors will put them into a segment that we've created. So if we create a segment, for instance, of people who've seen more than 15 of our pages, or have been on the website more than 50 times, then these become extremely powerful segments for us. And then we're able to create those lists of everybody who's seen the website more than 50 times and take an action based on that list. We've also got this conversion information. So this is people who've basically interacted probably with an advert or a form. So we can see a number of forms that have been submitted. We can see the first conversion date. We can see the Facebook ID click, so we can see what campaigns they've come from, and put each of those people into a segment. So we know who comes from what campaign, for instance, and we can take bulk actions accordingly. We can also see email information segmentation. We can see if their addresses have bounced. There you go. There's the email hard bounce reason. And if that is known, we'll have a really easy way of seeing anybody in the portal who's got a bounced email, and we can deal with that. But we can see marketing email interactions. We can see click rates with marketing emails or the marketing email name. We can see the confirmation status, send dates, reply dates. We can see whether people are in workflows. We can see whether they've opted out of information. So there's an awful lot of segmentation available to us right out of the box in HubSpot. That's very, very easy to produce without really doing very much at all. Simply clicking on the advanced filter and adding a filter to have a look at the segment, or again, to go to lists to create a segment. So we create a list. As you see, there's the one that we just built. So these are the contacts with the associated companies. And there's those three guys that we saw when we did it the other way around as well. Now I can use that list, as we mentioned, to perform other actions. And there are other ways that we can create segments as well in HubSpot, and those are generally related to the automations and to workflows, but also to some of the more powerful marketing tools, such as behavioral events that you can set up in HubSpot directly. So you'd sort of set those up on a bespoke basis for you as and when you needed them. But that's about it for what I wanted to demonstrate. I'm more than happy to answer any questions anybody's got. So let's just jump back to our screen and stop sharing and see, does anybody have anything to follow up on from that, or anybody want to look at something again? Marilyn, you had lots of problems, you were saying, Marilyn and Derya. Does that address some of those problems for you?
It was very helpful. Thanks a lot. I didn't know that much properties. I believe I should dig in more to investigate on the properties, and maybe I can make some filters. But we have other issues
Mm-hmm.
which cannot be solved with this segmentation.
I
It
understand.
is yeah, it's about data quality, but this session was also very helpful for us, and
So
thanks a lot.
no, not you were more than welcome, and you're always welcome to the hugs. They're for us HubSpot enthusiasts, okay? But you're quite right, actually, to say data quality in itself is a segment. You can use HubSpot. You can use other tools as well to analyze the quality of the data and to start to fix that data. Let's just jump in and have a quick look at that for you to see whether this will help you. Let me just share that screen again. Do you have Ops Hub, Meryl? What level of subscription do you have?
We have we have a sales hub, a
Yeah,
marketing hub, and operations hub, I
right.
believe.
So if you've got Ops Hub, then I can hopefully show you a couple of bits here from a segmentation perspective. So a segment is any bucket, if you like, is any list of people with the same problem. Okay, so if we go into under reporting, if we've got Ops Hub, you'll see a section on data management, and you'll see a section on data quality.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so now what you can do, what you can immediately see here and it's not the most sophisticated tool in the world. There are more sophisticated tools, but we can see there are 4 records with formatting issues. Unfortunately, and this is probably because it's a demo, there are no duplicate issues, right? But most websites, most CRMs we work with have lots of duplicate issues. So what can we do? Using HubSpot, we can go straight into those issues, and when they're only 4, it's absolutely not difficult at all. And we can review those issues, and we can fix those issues right here in HubSpot. Okay, so I'm going to do something that is a bit naughty. So don't tell anybody I did it. If I go into my own portal and I go to the data management and the data quality set, you'll see that there you go. So look, I've got 39 duplicate issues there, right? And 243 formatting issues. So when I go into that shows me all of the potential duplicates, and it allows me to fix them. So now I'm going to look at this as a first example, and I'm going to review that example, and I'm going to basically choose which of these is the primary record, and I'm going to merge the other into it. So I highlight the one I want to keep, and I merge the other into it if it's a genuine duplicate. If it's not a genuine duplicate, and while that person has the same name, they have different email addresses, and I know why that's the case, I'm happy with that, then I can just reject it. It won't come up again as a duplicate. The same thing happens if I look at it from a formatted perspective. I can just accept or reject what it regards as a duplicate, or a format issue, or I can just get rid of it. Now, if you have got HubSpot, you can also create data hygiene automations. So you can see I've got some switched on in my portal here, and HubSpot automatically capitalizes the first name and the last name, and it makes the email all lowercase. So if somebody enters without any first names and last names a contact record, that's a bit annoying. And the reason why it's annoying is because if you use a personalization token to personalize your email, writing somebody's name with a lowercase first letter is a bit rude, really. It either shows that you don't know what you're doing from a data perspective, or that you're being rude. So it's really useful when HubSpot capitalizes it for you. From a combined fields perspective, we want to remove any time somebody puts the whole name into the first name. So somebody puts Tony Dowling in first name, HubSpot will automatically remove the Dowling from it, leaving the Tony behind, which is really cool, I think. And then on spacing and punctuation, it'll place a space and it'll remove spaces and punctuations if we've got the first name and somebody puts a full stop after it, or too many spaces, or any space actually. Same with the last name. And if people add spaces to emails when they're typing by mistake, we can fix that as well. And in fact, if you go into your automation, you'll see there's probably a little badge here that says Explore Operations Hub. And if you click that, it'll show you the automations that you can build using the fact that you've got Operations Hub to start to clean and monitor your data as a for instance. So there's quite a lot we can do to fix data using OpsHub. Now, there is a further step available, and that is something in HubSpot called programmable automation. So we can actually, using Operations Hub, we can teach HubSpot to make further changes to our data. So for instance, if we have 2 duplicate records, we can teach HubSpot to get rid of the newest one or the oldest one. We can teach HubSpot to get rid of records that have got random numbers in them. We can teach HubSpot to get rid of email addresses. If you're in B2B, if you're in the business to business sector, you can teach HubSpot to get rid of email addresses that have got Gmail or iCloud or AOL, personal email addresses. So it's quite a lot that you can do from that perspective. Is that a bit closer to the sorts of issues that you guys are having over there in Ankara?
Yes, some of them.
I'm determined to fix this issue.
I think it's about the sales people we have.
Oh, of course
they
it
are.
is.
Yeah. So it is. Yes, you gave me good ideas, and I will work on them. But I believe we need to make a bigger operation, and I don't want to ruin this meeting with
No. Well,
all problems.
no, that's very kind. And let me see, Leanne, are you still on? Your camera's off. Are you still with us?
I'm here.
What do you do? So Leanne is, I know Leanne, she's one of our clients. So she's a HubSpot admin. What do you do about ensuring data quality on the entry point, Leanne? How do you make sure that salespeople don't mess your nice clean data up?
Oh, I threaten them.
That's probably the easiest way to do it.
Yeah. No, so I still have a major little headache with a few sort of ones that do dribble in, but it is quite a little thing of, as you said, with the filtering and using the Ops Hub is a very good tool to keep in all the names. And there is also about the AI, it does pick up on email addresses, which is always quite helpful. But we've started putting in some filters now because you can do that is all conditional on depending on who puts people in. So there are certain, so if one of our sales guys starts putting a contact in, they'll get a load of extra blurb of you have to do all these things, and they're all starred and they have to put them in. And if they don't put them in, they're not putting a contact in.
Yeah. So there's a combination there of conditional logic and required fields. So you're saying you have to fill these fields in, and if you fill that field in a certain way, then you have to add that piece of information, and you have to add that piece of information. That's brilliant. Yeah, that's really good examples. Thanks, Leanne. I'll give you guys another a real quick tip. I'm going to just share screen again, and I'm going to show you. I'm not going to share screen because there's no need to share screen. But in terms of data hygiene, one of the tools we use as a HubSpot partner is a application called InCycle. Let me put it in the chat because it's spelt slightly differently from what you might think. It's InCycle, but with an S. And Meryl, if you connect HubSpot up to InCycle, it'll run you a full health audit, and it'll show you exactly where you are with all of your data and all of your properties. If you're interested in doing that, then have a look at it. And if you want me to help you walk through it, then that's absolutely not a problem. I'll be more than happy to do that. Has anybody got any questions on segmentation before we wrap up? We've learned quite a bit there. We've gone into quite a lot of detail. We can see segmentation that we apply, segmentation that the customer creates for themselves, and some of the ways that we can use segmentation in HubSpot. Anybody got any further questions? Okay, well, I'm going to say thank you very much to everybody who's given me time out of their day. I hope you've learned something, and we haven't just done a one-to-one call with our friends from Turkey. Everybody's managed to get something from it. It's great to see the regular faces. Thank you so much for supporting us, and I look forward to seeing you again next month in the next hug. Speak to you all again soon. Have a brilliant weekend.
Bye. Thanks, Tony.
Cheers.